Thomas Mitchell was the perfect golf instructor. He analyzed every swing to the millimeter, calculated distances in his head, read wind factors like a book. His wealthy clients were amazed by his patience and precision. But Thomas's perfectionism came from learning to hit targets in life-and-death situations. And now those skills were hidden beneath golf lessons. Welcome to Hidden Warriors. Tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. Pinehurst Country Club stood as one of the most exclusive golf facilities on the East Coast, where membership cost more than most people's annual salary. Thomas Mitchell had been the head golf instructor for 12 years, training CEOs, politicians, and celebrities who valued discretion as much as they valued improving their handicap. Thomas was the kind of instructor every serious golfer wanted to work with. He could spot form issues from 200 yards away, calculate trajectory and wind impact with mathematical precision, and had an uncanny ability to read terrain that allowed him to predict exactly where every shot would land before the club made contact. His lessons were legendary among members. Senator Williams credited Thomas with improving his game from a 15 handicap to scratch. Tech billionaire Robert Chen flew in from California monthly just for sessions with Thomas. Even professional golfers sought his analysis when their games struggled. But there were aspects of Thomas's teaching methods that set him apart from typical golf instruction. The way he emphasized breath control and mental focus techniques that seemed more suited to meditation than sports. His insistence on students learning to read environmental conditions with almost scientific precision. The unusual amount of time he spent teaching distance calculation and trajectory analysis. Thomas's cottage on the club grounds was modest, but revealing to anyone who understood what to look for. Golf magazines shared shelf space with advanced ballistics texts. Tournament trophies sat alongside precision measuring instruments that had nothing to do with golf. His walls displayed course layout maps next to topographical surveys that showed elevation changes in military detail. What club members didn't know was that Thomas Mitchell's real name was Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Mackenzie, former Marine Corps scout sniper with 3 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. His legendary precision with golf instruction came from years of calculating wind speed, distance, and trajectory for targets that were decidedly not golf balls. The skills that made him an exceptional golf teacher, patience, attention to detail, ability to read environmental conditions, mathematical precision in calculating distances, were the same skills that had made him one of the most effective long-range marksmen in Marine Corps history. Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Mackenzie had been part of the Marine Corps' elite scout sniper program, specialists trained to operate alone in hostile territory for extended periods while providing precision fire support and intelligence gathering. Between 2008 and 2015, he had served 3 combat deployments, establishing a record for accuracy that made him a training instructor for other snipers. His specialization had been extreme long-range precision shooting, taking out high-value targets at distances that most soldiers couldn't imagine attempting. His confirmed record included eliminations at ranges exceeding 1,200 meters, shots that required not just exceptional marksmanship, but mathematical calculation of factors that most people never considered. Wind speed and direction at multiple elevations, atmospheric pressure and humidity, effects on bullet trajectory, target movement patterns and timing, environmental factors like heat mirage and light reflection. Thomas had learned to process dozens of variables simultaneously while maintaining the mental calm necessary for precision shooting under combat stress. But his specialty went beyond individual marksmanship. As a scout sniper, Thomas had been responsible for providing overwatch protection for military operations, identifying threats before they could engage friendly forces, and gathering intelligence about enemy movements and capabilities. The mission that ended his military career had been routine by sniper standards. Provide overwatch for a convoy moving through hostile territory, identify potential ambush sites, eliminate threats before they could engage the vehicles. But intelligence had been compromised, and the convoy was attacked by a much larger force than expected. Thomas had held his position for 14 hours, providing covering fire that allowed the convoy to reach safety while he remained alone in hostile territory. He had made 17 confirmed eliminations at ranges from 400 to 900 meters, using ammunition conservation techniques that kept him operational far longer than standard engagement protocols. When extraction finally arrived, Thomas was suffering from dehydration and exhaustion, but every member of the convoy had survived. More importantly, his position had been compromised during the extended engagement, making him a target for enemy forces who now knew his capabilities and methods. The Marine Corps offered him the same choice given to other compromised special operations personnel: new identity with complete career change, or assignment to training facilities where his operational knowledge could never be exploited by enemies. Thomas chose civilian life, but with specific requirements. He wanted to maintain the skills that had kept him and others alive, and he wanted work that allowed him to continue developing the precision and environmental awareness that defined his professional identity. Golf instruction provided the perfect cover. A legitimate career that utilized his analytical skills, allowed him to work with high-profile clients who valued discretion, and provided daily practice in the same fundamental skills that had made him an effective sniper. Thomas first noticed the surveillance during the third week of September. A man in expensive golf attire had been observing lessons from various positions around the course, claiming to be a prospective member, evaluating instruction quality. His behavior followed classic reconnaissance patterns that Thomas recognized from military intelligence training. The observer wasn't interested in golf technique. He was studying Thomas's routines, documenting his schedule, noting which members received lessons at what times. Most telling was his focus on sight lines and positioning. He was mapping the course not for golf strategy, but for tactical advantage. When Thomas discreetly photographed the man and ran facial recognition through databases he maintained access to, the results confirmed his suspicions. Viktor Petrov, former Russian military, current freelance operative, specializing in elimination of retired Western Special Forces personnel, his presence meant Thomas's military identity had been compromised. Over the next week, Thomas identified 2 additional operatives conducting surveillance. They rotated shifts, maintained distance, and used legitimate golf activities as cover for intelligence gathering. Their coordination and professionalism indicated this wasn't random criminal activity. Someone had identified Gunnery Sergeant Thomas Mackenzie and hired specialists to handle the problem. The most concerning development was their interest in his high-profile clients. They were documenting which politicians and business leaders received regular instruction, mapping their schedules and security protocols. This suggested the operation went beyond eliminating Thomas. They were planning to use his client relationships for broader objectives. Thomas realized he faced the same tactical situation he had encountered in military operations: hold position and protect civilians, or withdraw and allow enemies to achieve their objectives. The difference was that his civilians were some of the most powerful people in the country, and his position was a golf course with no military support available. He began implementing security measures that appeared routine to club staff, but created tactical advantages for someone with his training. He adjusted lesson schedules to minimize predictable patterns, positioned himself to maintain sight lines to multiple areas of the course, and began carrying equipment that served both golf instruction and defensive purposes. Most importantly, he started warning his most vulnerable clients about potential security issues without revealing the true nature of the threat. Senator Williams began bringing additional security to lessons. Robert Chen's private security team increased their presence during his visits. But Thomas knew that passive measures wouldn't be sufficient. Professional operatives don't abandon missions because targets become more cautious. They adapt tactics and wait for opportunities. Eventually, they would make their move, and Thomas would have to choose between maintaining his civilian cover and using skills he had hoped never to need again. The attack came during Senator Williams's regular Thursday afternoon lesson. Thomas had positioned them at the driving range, an elevated area that provided good sight lines across the course, while allowing the senator's security team to maintain overwatch from nearby positions. At 3:15 p.m., Thomas spotted the first operative moving into position approximately 800 meters away, using a maintenance building as concealment while establishing a shooting position toward the driving range. The angle and distance were perfect for long-range elimination, exactly what Thomas would have chosen if he were planning the operation. "Senator," Thomas said calmly, continuing the lesson while processing the tactical situation. "Let's work on your stance from this position. Keep your head down and focus on the ball." The instruction served dual purposes. It kept the senator in a protected posture while allowing Thomas to scan for additional threats. He spotted the second operative 600 meters in a different direction, confirming this was a coordinated attack designed to eliminate both Thomas and his high-profile client. Thomas's military training took over. He had perhaps 2 minutes before the operatives would be in optimal firing positions. Moving the senator to cover would alert them that their approach had been detected and likely trigger immediate engagement before backup could respond. Instead, Thomas made a decision that would have been impossible for anyone without his specific background. He was going to eliminate both threats using the only precision instruments available, his golf clubs. "Senator, I need you to trust me completely," Thomas said, selecting a 3-iron from his bag. "Stay exactly where you are and don't move until I tell you." Thomas's first shot wasn't aimed at a golf ball. Using techniques adapted from sniper training, he calculated distance, wind compensation, and trajectory for a golf ball traveling at maximum velocity toward the first operative's position. The ball, traveling at nearly 150 miles per hour, struck the operative's rifle scope with enough force to render him unconscious and destroy his weapon. The second shot came 30 seconds later. Thomas used a driver to send a ball on a high arc that landed with precision accuracy on the roof above the second operative, causing debris to fall that disrupted his position and forced him into the open where club security could respond. Both eliminations had been accomplished using civilian sporting equipment and techniques that appeared to be golf instruction to anyone observing from a distance. No one except the operatives themselves understood that they had been neutralized by a golf instructor using sniper skills adapted to sporting equipment. When club security arrived at both locations, they found 2 unconscious men with illegal weapons and surveillance equipment. The official explanation was that trespassers had been discovered conducting unauthorized activities on club property and had been incapacitated during their attempted escape. Senator Williams, who had observed enough to understand that Thomas had just saved his life using golf clubs and precision that defied normal explanation, asked only one question. "How long have you been protecting people like this?" Thomas's answer was simple. "Every day for 12 years. You just didn't know it." The investigation that followed revealed that the operatives were part of a larger network targeting retired special forces personnel who would transition to civilian careers serving high-profile clients. Thomas's elimination of the threat protected not just himself and the senator, but potentially dozens of other former military personnel working in similar positions. But more importantly, the incident demonstrated that Thomas's transition from military sniper to golf instructor hadn't been retirement from service. It had been a different form of protection duty. Every lesson he taught included elements of situational awareness, environmental analysis, and precision skills that could serve defensive purposes if necessary. His clients began understanding that their golf instruction included elements they hadn't recognized. The breathing techniques that improved their swing consistency were the same methods used by snipers to maintain calm under pressure. The environmental awareness that helped them read greens also made them more alert to potential security threats. 6 months later, Pinehurst Country Club quietly hired additional security consultants, all of them former military personnel with specialized training who had been personally recommended by Thomas. The club's security profile increased dramatically, though members simply noticed that their golf experience had become even more exclusive and professional. Thomas continued teaching golf with the same patience and precision he had always shown. But certain members noticed subtle changes in their lessons, more emphasis on environmental awareness, discussions about maintaining calm under pressure, techniques for rapid situational assessment that had applications beyond golf. A year after the incident, Thomas was approached by a federal agency that trained protective personnel for high-value government officials. They offered him a consulting position, developing training programs that combined traditional protection skills with civilian activity cover. Thomas declined the official position, but agreed to provide unofficial guidance for former military personnel transitioning to civilian protection roles. His golf instruction became a model for how specialized skills could be maintained and applied in non-military contexts. Have you ever had an instructor whose teaching seemed to include elements beyond the stated subject? Someone whose guidance felt more comprehensive than typical lessons? Share your experience in the comments. And subscribe to Hidden Warriors for more stories of everyday professionals whose specialized backgrounds continue serving and protecting in unexpected ways. Some protectors wear uniforms and carry badges. Others carry golf clubs and teach precision that serves purposes their students never imagine.